transition into that because I want to go into that, which is, most the average person is like, oh my God, I don't want a nuclear war. What if there's a nuclear war? What happens? How bad is it? How ugly is it going to get if there's somebody does something like Truman did back in the days when we responded back to Pearl Harbor, all this other stuff. Okay, fine. For you, what concerns you more? Nuclear war, cyber warfare, biochemical warfare, or a super EMP type of attack that, I read this somewhere that says experts say our power grid can be destroyed, and when that happens, 7 to 90% of U.S. population will die within the first year. Which of those four concerns you the most?
Well, I put super EMP and cyber together. In my book, Blackout Warfare, I described this revolutionary new way of warfare that is in military doctrines of Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. And they are prepared to execute this, where the focus of the attack is national electric grids, okay? Because we are an electronic civilization, everything, all of our life-sustaining critical infrastructures, communications, transportation, even food and water, depend upon electricity. And the military, the ability to project power and to operate your military forces and command and control, all depends upon electricity. So the theory of this, is that if you can take out the electric grids with EMP attacks and cyber warfare and special forces sabotage, small numbers of guys going in and shooting up transformers and stuff, you'll cause a nationwide blackout, and that will bring the other side to its knees, and you'll basically win a war in very quickly, potentially at the speed of light, because of the way EMP and cyber work, and because it's even what so-called nuclear EMP attack is not a Hiroshima or a Nagasaki type use of an atomic bomb. It's not considered nuclear war in Russian or Chinese, North Korean doctrines. Considered part of cyber warfare or electronic warfare, and rightly so, because of the way the physics work. You detonate a weapon at very high altitude, 300, 400 kilometers. It's so high that if you were standing on the ground directly beneath the explosion, you wouldn't even hear it. I mean, it's 300, 400 kilometers over your head going off in the vacuum of space. There wouldn't even be a noise, all right? The blast wouldn't reach you. There'd be no thermal or radioactive effects that would reach you. The only thing that would come down would be the electromagnetic pulse, which is harmless to people. It passes harmlessly through your body like a radio wave, but it will destroy electronics. Cars won't work. You won't have any water because the electric grid would collapse, and it requires millions of volts to get water. Food would start spoiling. There's only enough food to feed people at 3 days in local grocery stores. And in the whole of the United States, we only have enough food to supply people for 30 days, 330 million people for 30 days at normal consumption rates. And it would begin to spoil immediately. And it couldn't be transported to market because the interstate highways would be jammed, transportation systems wouldn't work. In effect, it's a way of subtracting from modern electronic civilization, the technologies that make life possible today. And a president faced with that, wouldn't be able to operate his forces. You might not even be able to retaliate with a super EMP weapon because it would fry the electronics and command and control systems and the missiles and the bombers. And faced with, do I go and fight a losing war in Ukraine, or do I mobilize what is left of the Defense Department to try to restore the electric grid to save millions of American lives before people start starving to death and society collapses? Obviously, that latter choice, and that's part of their calculation. And we're even closer to that. I'm most concerned about that scenario because before Russia goes nuclear, in terms of the classical nuclear war where they would blow up ICBMs in their silos or attack bomber bases with nuclear weapons or even do tactical nuclear strikes in Ukraine, I think it more likely that they would use what I call a blackout war, because it would kill very few people initially. It's what's called gray zone aggression. It's a non-traditional way of warfare that we really have no way of responding to, and it could be very quick and very decisive, and to solve the problem without having to go to a large-scale nuclear exchange. So I think, we're even closer to that than we are to a nuclear war, and I think it very likely that they would exercise that option before they went nuclear.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.